One of the biggest tools in use to keep government dealings as transparent as possible is the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, sometimes called FOIA. In the first year of the Obama presidency, it's become very clear that Obama's people are motivated to bring a new level of transparency in government, but because of the state of government these days, that kind of openness calls for specialized technology. Our next guest is an expert on this particular area. Stephen Davis is Chief Technology Officer at Privasoft Corporation. He joins us now on Sky Radio. Steve, welcome aboard.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Well, there seems to be a lot of intense action around the Freedom of Information Act at present. What kind of activity is surrounding FOIA right now?
Early last year, the Obama administration issued a directive on transparency and open government. And essentially what they did is they called on the agencies in the government to provide information to the American public and to make it readily available and to encourage interaction with the public and to use technology to do that. The availability of that information now is putting an increased demand on the Freedom of Information workers and the Freedom of Information Act. As people get more information, they're asking for more information. And so, again, the FOIA groups are now looking at ways to process this information and make it more available to the American citizens.
Now, what's the government doing to address this increased activity?
Well, the government's doing two things. One, they're setting policy that makes the FOIA groups responsible to the legislation that is in place. And they're actually putting punitive measures in place and making the analysts and the FOIA workers responsible for meeting the deadlines, the 20-day deadline that is required. The actual FOIA groups themselves are now looking to technology to say, well, how do I make my group more efficient? I've got the same level of funding that I did last year. I'm getting an increased number of requests. How do I make my job easier to work? How do I show that I'm processing these requests properly? And how do I show that I'm using technology the way that the administration has asked me to do that?
So what is the job of technology in this area?
Well, essentially what the job is to make the analyst's job easier to connect the citizen with the government. So you have people that are now able to submit their Freedom of Information requests online. They're getting more information from those websites in terms of proactive disclosure, seeing that information that's available without even having to ask for it. But it's also allowing the government workers that are processing these requests to be more efficient, to reach out electronically to the document repositories where the information exists, and to also show, because reporting is a huge part of this, to show that they actually are able to meet the legislated deadlines and to show that they are being responsive to the American public.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for joining us here on Sky Radio, letting us know about this.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Davis is Chief Technology Officer at Privasoft Corporation. We reached him by phone from the company's offices in Arlington, Virginia. You can visit on the web at www.privasoft.com.